right on ahead.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for attending this open house session. Today, we're going to be talking about some of our amazing programs in higher education and leadership. My name is Autumn Cunningham. I'm a graduate counselor here in the School of Education at LMU. I'm here with several of my esteemed colleagues. I don't know if they want to say hi, a quick hello. That's Mary.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time. We're just going to dive right in. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. I am so sorry. Give me 1 second. All right, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get into, before we get into the programs, I just want to say a few words about the School of Education mission and goals, and sort of, the bedrock that the School of Education is built upon in terms of how we craft our programs, the curriculum, and who we're educating and the leaders that we are preparing for academia in the tomorrow, right? So first things first, we want to encourage lifelong learning. This essentially means that your education and this thirst for knowledge that you have does not end in the classroom, and it does not end with graduation. It's continual, and it perpetuates well on past your graduation, and it is facilitated in your classrooms or in higher education or whatever institution that you find yourself exercising your leadership skills. To build upon that, educating the whole person. In the last few years, I know I don't have to tell everyone here that it's been so apparent that all of us live at very different intersections of identity. So a lot of the curriculum and the programming in the School of Education is built upon educating the individual as they are and how they can facilitate that in their classrooms, on college campuses, private, charter, you name it. And then also a true sense for justice, not just ideologically, but actually boots on the ground, recognition of oppression and systemic barriers that may otherwise go unchecked for leaders who are unprepared to see those kinds of inequities. And all of that we just talked about is baked into the framework, the theoretical framework of the School of Education, our real framework. So to respect, educate, advocate, and to lead. And all of that sort of builds upon our quest to give a voice to those persons and groups who may otherwise be marginalized. So those are the kind of leaders that we are trying to prepare for tomorrow in the School of Education. And it's what we want you to focus on when you're examining the different programs in the School of Education, especially in higher education and leadership programs. So moving forward in the same vein, diversity, equity, and inclusion, we're going to continue to talk about this because we want you to know how intentional we are about this work. It's not just an ideal. It is actually a theory that is married in the practice of every curriculum, every syllabus, every class that's associated with any program in the School of Education. Specifically, recognizing historical and systemic forms of racism and actually being able to name those stories and name those issues as leaders, as educators, is one of the key components of the forefront of the curriculum. Recognizing institutional barriers. So as you complete your degree and complete your education and you find yourself in an institution, knowing what an inequity is and what's not, and being able to name that, and not just being tolerant of everyone, but also allowing a plurality of cultural identities, of inclusive culture that does not just end in the classroom, but perpetuates for the rest of your career. And not just that being from you, but being able to facilitate that in other people, right? So just a few benefits of LMU, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart as well. I don't think I mentioned this, but I graduated from the School of Education in 2017. So when I was looking for graduate programs as a counselor, I knew that I wanted very intentional, very individualized time with my faculty. So small classrooms. I don't think I've ever had a class that had more than 20 people in it. So it really did enable me to build a sense of belonging and connection with the college and with my faculty. And also are probably like one of the most important components of your education here in the School of Education is marrying theory with practice. So we do that through intentional field work, whether you're going through K through 12, private, charter, or public, or higher education, whichever track you decide to go down, there is going to be a component of fieldwork where you get an actual chance to apply those theories that you've learned in the classroom. And also, we know that everyone here is going to be working professionals, so a flexible scheduling is available across the board in all graduate programs here. So just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. The 4 programs that we're going to highlight today. These are graduate programs that do not have a specific certification or credential attached. So we want to make sure everyone here is aware of that. Higher education administration, a master's degree in higher education administration, a master's in educational studies, a master's in educational leadership, and a master's degree in guidance and counseling. So first things first, the higher education administration program. This is a really cool program, and I think we put this one first is because this program is for the individual who sees their career in higher education that as having no limits. So if you want to go into advising, or if you want to go into admissions, or if you want to go into academic affairs or student affairs or career, no matter where you are on your campus, having a degree in higher education administration sort of prepares you for whichever department or institution that you might find yourself. It's a cohort model, so it's very intentionalized. It's very on purpose. So you don't really have a lot of flexibility when it comes to a cohort model. You can complete it in 2 years. It's 31 units, and it begins in summer 2. So again, this program, it doesn't necessarily pigeonhole you into a specific track or avenue, and you can have a broad selection of not degrees, but of career choices from post-secondary institutions, private or public. So educational studies. So this is sort of similar in terms of having a lot of options in terms of where you want your degree to take you. But this one expands it a little bit because it also allows you to involve the K through 12 and post-secondary institutions as well. So it's not just higher education. But I think the most compelling component of this program is that it allows you to build yourself, like build your own curriculum, up to 5 courses, I believe, of elective coursework that is tailored to the kind of educator you want to be. So in terms of, for instance, if you want to have a heavy sense of political science or theory or psychology, connected with your academic advisor, the both of you can make a plan together that makes sense to build a curriculum to shape you into the educator or the professional or the administrator that you want to be. It's highly flexible scheduling, hybrid courses, so it's not a cohort model like higher ed administration. So you pretty much go at your own pace. And it typically takes about 2 years to complete. So our educational leadership program, and let me just say, if there's any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and put in the chat. I'm a huge proponent of asking questions, you know, because we're talking about everything so broadly. So if you have any questions or if you want me to go back, I totally don't mind doing that. So I'll pause here for a second if anyone has any questions.
Autumn?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Michelle. Thank you for LMU and for your time and missions for allowing us to listen in on the info session. I have a question as far as dual degrees with like the counseling and another degree. I don't know, like JD or something like that. Are those opportunities available at LMU? And as far as your background, has that been a possibility or at least a consideration to sort of have a dual degree purpose at LMU?
So you
in
mean
education?
so you mean like 2 master's degrees completed at the same time?
Autumn, I can
Oh,
take.
yeah.
Oh, Mary, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Michelle, yeah, we did have a dual degree program for some time, but there was such limited pursuit. I mean, we'd have like 3 students over the course of 3 years, so we no longer have a dual degree program. We had it with a JD, and the MBA, and they've talked about doing that with one of the MA in education programs with the EDD program, but we don't have it now. They definitely have talked about it, but unfortunately we do not have it. And you can't unfortunately, when 2 MAs cannot share the same coursework. So
Right.
that's just something, yeah.
And so may I also ask, I didn't say I had 2 questions, but I do have 2 questions, another question at least. Are there certificates like let's say that I have an MBA, a master's in library science. And let's say that in a few years, I want to gain certification in, I think like urban education or something like that. Does LMU have those sort of graduate certificates? Let's say in a few years that if I
Absolutely.
I'm starting a program somewhere, but I've been researching because I know that I want to specialize in something, and I know LMU has a lot of the like the urban education program.
Right.
So
Michelle,
and I went to Catholic U too for my master's, so I don't know if that.
Yeah, and Michelle, once you start talking about, hi, I'm Mary. I work in SOE admissions as well, director of admissions, School of Ed. Once you start talking about you're talking about teacher certification or certification. We're going to go a little bit off topic from what we're here to. So these are MA only programs without teaching certification. So Urban Ed is a teacher certification program. We definitely have a very strong program, but we're not going to be able to cover that part in this session, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Definitely get you the information on it.
All right, that'll be great. Thank you.
Great.
We're going to have our information towards the end, Michelle, so you can reach out to us directly and we can get you all of that information. Any other questions before we move on to educational leadership? Okie dokie. So this program is really special because it's for individuals whose faith is really important to them and is already embedded maybe in in your professional career trajectory already. It integrates faith and professional practice and theoretical practice already in the curriculum. Not all graduate programs do that in the School of Education. So if that component is important to you and you want to stay in Catholic schools, private schools, you can continue on with educational leadership. This is also really flexible scheduling. There's an online and a hybrid cohort available. This master's degree, it also builds on a certification, a Catholic School Administration certification. So if this applies to anyone, if anyone is interested in a certification, this master's degree, if you continue on, you can get your master's degree as well. So guidance and counseling, this is the Master's in Guidance and Counseling. This is actually the program that I graduated from. It's an amazing program. It's sort of reminiscent of higher education administration, meaning you can go several different directions with this degree. But it's a little bit broader because you don't necessarily have to stay in higher education. You can go into the private sector or a lot of other organizational structures or systems that requires or calls for guidance and counseling. It's extremely flexible. It's extremely flexible. It is not a cohort model, so you can continue this program as you go. There's in-person and hybrid courses, and it takes typically 2.5 years to complete. So this program is also really cool because it's one of the earliest programs where if you finish it, it's just a guidance and counseling. However, you can build upon it and get your PPS credential so you can counsel in K through 12 schools, or move it even further and continue on and get the 60-unit Master's in Counseling and qualify yourself for the LPCC, the Licensed Professional Clinical Counseling. So if you're interested in that, like I was telling Michelle, you can email me directly if you want to have more information about those other two tracks. So some of the general requirements for all of the programs that we cover today, general admissions, all of these programs require a personal statement of intent, official transcripts that shows your bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited university or college, letter or letters of recommendation. The reason why is the letters, the S is in parentheses because not all programs require multiple letters of recommendation, and a group interview if you are selected. Specifically for the guidance and counseling, there's a certificate of clearance component that is required, but it is not an application requirement, meaning when you submit your application, it is possible that you may not have your certificate of clearance completed. So you can submit your application without having that done. And if you're admitted, you can work with your academic advisor to clear that requirement for you. So tuition and financial aid. So as it stands right now for the 21-22 academic year, the cost per unit is $1,403, but there is so many scholarship grant opportunities within the School of Education that's available for you. I have the link there for you, soe.lmu.edu/admissions/aid. You can go there and explore all of the opportunities to help you continue on with your education in LMU. But the most important thing about this slide is the financial aid open house session tonight at 6 p.m. Financial aid is a highly intentional and specific department. So we don't want to give you any wrong information. We want all the information that you get to be up to date because things change at the drop of a hat. So if you attend that session at 6, you can ask targeted questions that might help you towards the degree that you actually want to apply for and complete. So these are some of the specialized info sessions for the programs that we went through today. I highly recommend, if you're even thinking about applying to one of these programs, it's really important. I really encourage you to attend at least one info session, because today we just sort of went over all of these programs very broadly, very briefly, and we didn't really get a chance to get into, like, say, the curriculum or the specifics of the classes, or even more detail of where these degrees can take you. But in these info sessions, you have the opportunity to speak to the program director, or even sometimes current students that are in the program. And you can ask targeted questions for you, your specific academic journey and trajectory, and you're not limited to to a short amount of time because other programs are being talked about. One thing I will highlight is that we didn't talk about is our EDD, our Doctorate in Educational Leadership for Social Justice. It's not a master's program, it's a doctoral program. And if you're interested, if you already have a master's degree and you're interested in going even further, you can register for that info session in the open house RSVP schedule. Just visit the RSVP schedule. Right, Mary, it's located in that schedule.
The open house schedule,
The
yes.
open house schedule, right, exactly. And let me just, before we end, I'm gonna put the link to this in the chat where you can see all of these info sessions where you can register, just to make it easier for you as well. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Also, I would say on our SOE website, there you can soe.lmu.edu/admission. You can get a detailed information package on any of these. So these are master's degrees without certification. Once you start getting into certification, it's a little bit more detailed. Like there's an MA in school administration, but it includes certification to be an administrator in school, which requires that you already have a teaching or a service credential, which requires all these years of a service. So these are MAs that you can get for a broad range of careers and take you anywhere, but they're not going to be that K-12 California certification. These are going to be more for they'll be for K-12 private schools that don't require certification, but they're going to be for more community service agencies, business, higher ed, and etc. Obviously, the MA in higher ed administration is very targeted, taught by people in higher ed, very targeted for community colleges, four-year colleges, private, public. And so really, if that's where you see yourself in a career, and you know, I've been at LMU 33 years, so this one's near and dear to my heart. It's been a great career. And so that's that one. Guidance and counseling, that focus is really going to be on counseling. It's not going to be on administration. That focus is going to be on counseling and working with others in a counseling mode. Educational studies, it's a little bit broader, but it's still an education, K-12 education focus. You can take some elective coursework in counseling or in higher ed or in administration policy, but for the most part, that's your focus is K-12. And ed leadership, it's definitely Catholic school administration. That is what that program is for, K-12 Catholic school administration. And the EDD as well, you know, the world is your oyster. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you.
All right, and we'll take chats. Don't be shy. We've got like another half hour here, so shoot away.
Hi, I have a question. Do you guys have on your website the elective courses for the educational studies master's degree?
You know, that is a good question. I don't think they are there.
So according to the, I'm so sorry, Mary, can I maybe try? So according to the info packet that we can definitely have the system send you, you work with your academic advisor when you're looking to take elective courses, because some are approved for this program, and they could be from a different or from a variety of different departments. So it's, I don't think that
the School of Education.
Within this, exactly, within the School of Education. So yeah, I think we can, we can maybe check with the academic advisors to see if there is a list.
Yeah. So Terry Taylor is the advisor for that program, and she has sort of a list. It's because she has to get, depending on the student's interest, she has to get the faculty member of that program to admit you into the course, and then the program director. So there are a large number of courses she's developed where they're like, yes, we will take people from other disciplines into this because they don't need prior prerequisite coursework. So that's always the problem, right? We can't put you in an advanced school psych course because you would be lost, and we don't want you to be lost. So Terry Taylor is the academic advisor. She would be the best bet. We can get actually Autumn. We can probably ask her for a list of what she's looking at right now that we could send to you, Maya.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. I have another question. I work at Loyola Law School, and but I think this is more of a financial aid question. I just wanted to ask about the taxes portion. I'm realizing this is totally a financial aid question, so I'll just attend that session and ask.
And HR too for tuition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
There was a question in the chat, when does summer 2 begin? Mary, that begins in July, right?
No, it begins at the end of June.
End of June.
So I think it's around June 27th or so. It's whatever that last week of June, first week of July, whatever that Monday is.
Awesome. So before we answer any other questions, I just wanted to highlight some of the open house sessions for tonight. Again, the financial aid information session is tonight at 6 p.m. to 6:30. For those of you who have those specific questions about tuition, taxes, things like that, we definitely encourage you to attend that session so you can get the correct information. 6:30 to 7, there's going to be an info session about the graduate students of LMU, GSLMU. This is a highly active student organization within the School of Education that really works hard to connect students to the campus, the School of Education, to resources, networking events. So if you're looking to be like a really active student within the School of Ed and on LMU at large, to be honest, this is an excellent program, excellent organization to learn more about. And for those of you who are international students, from 7 to 7:30, there's going to be a detailed session to highlight or basically explain the admissions process for you specifically. So here is my and Mary's direct information. You can always email soeinfo@lmu.edu for any questions, but if you want to email me directly, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm always here to help you with your specific questions about the admissions process, the application process. What's a completed application? Is my application complete? Oh my God, like all of it. I'm here for all of it. So with that, I'm just going to open up the rest of the session for questions. We're here.
Yeah, and you can ask more specific questions. I know that was just really a brief overview.
Yeah.
So you can
go
ask more
back.
specific questions about programs if you'd like to.
I have another question.
Sure.
When does the application open for the Educational Studies Master?
It should be open already, or is it not letting you?
I mean, I guess the next, or is now a good time to apply?
Yeah, we have rolling admissions. So what
Okay.
that is,
We do at Loyola Law School too.
Yeah. we process your applications as we receive them. Ed Studies, I believe you can start in fall or spring. So you might even be able to start in, sorry, I don't know as much about that program. So I'm going to look that up. But I'm almost sure you can do fall and spring. Autumn, do you know?
You can do fall and spring. I just looked that up too, but I don't want to take my, I don't want to show you guys all my anxiety tabs.
Okay, it's, you can also do summer, fall, or spring. So it really is up to you. You can apply at any time for any of those semesters. Well, it's a little too early for spring, but for summer or fall. Summer 1, summer 2, or fall.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
How much does it cost to apply?
There's I think is it
50?
50? Is it still 50?
Earl, do you know? You're on mute.
Yes, it is $50. If you are by chance an LMU alum, that from their bachelor's programs, that fee is waived, but for new students, it is $50.
Thank you, Earl.
Thank you.
Dean?
How large, on average, is the typical cohort for the MA in higher education administration program, generally?
That's a great question. It's typically 15. It's a nice small cohort. With an awesome program director, Dr. Beth Stoddard. She's
Oh,
amazing.
she's amazing.
So amazing.
At my previous institution, a cohort of 15 would have been massive. So hearing that being called small is very,
Oh,
I like that. No, it's good.
well, compared to a state system, that would be called
Yeah.
minuscule, right? Actually, this year the cohort is, I believe, 11. So
Great. That's wonderful.
Do you have that number for the educational studies masters as well?
it's not a cohort program. So you're going to be in classes with other students from other programs. The theory classes, you know, it's a program that pulls from all of the other offerings. That's how it's able to be so flexible. So your classes could be, you know, 20 to 25 students. If when several students from several programs are taking the same classes, you could get a little bit higher. But it's never going to be over 25.
Okay.
Where's the contact information that Autumn or Mary, you had mentioned the emails?
Yeah, let me go ahead and put our emails in
Oh,
the chat.
sorry.
No worries.
I thought it was already up. I didn't, yeah.
Oh, I changed the
Slide.
yeah, just so people can see and if they have any questions, but I'm gonna put my email and Mary's email.
Thank you.
Of course.
Were there any programs that we didn't cover that someone was thinking about for an MA that we could redirect you to? I know it gets a little confusing. They all start to sound alike when you're looking, and so we're trying to help narrow it down a little for you with your interests.
Does the counseling program, excuse me, have a practicum component to it, like field work? I know Autumn, you had mentioned field work on your intro, but
Yeah.
with the counseling, I'm sure that there's need for, I'm sure all of them, but practicum and placement, student placement. I'm in California, but I'm 5 hours away north. So let's say if someone, I don't, how would that work? Is it by our own initiative to put in hours of field work hours? Would that be the case?
Yes, there is a practicum component to the guidance
Okay.
and counseling, and there is field work. So the practicum is in the form of a class, and
Yes.
field work is obviously field work.
Yes.
As long as you're in California, I don't see a reason why being 5 hours away would be an issue. I think you might be able to do that, but it depends on the class. If the class is hybrid, because even the field work component has a class component with it, where you have to
Okay.
faculty and things like that.
The problem you're gonna run into is that it's not an online program.
Right.
Oh, okay,
So your courses are gonna be 60% in person.
okay. Okay, right. All right. But but the placement as far as the field work, that would be our own initiative if students were on campus for the on-campus degree, the counseling degree.
Well, yes, there is an approval component that goes along.
There's
with
like
that.
I guess I'm asking, is there like a coordinator for that?
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And it's 200 hours for the guidance and counseling MA.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about that as well. And this might be a question more specifically for this program's open house, but for the higher ed administration program, I work at LMU full-time already in the student affairs division. So is there a way to get like have your full-time job like counting as your field work at all? I just think it'd be a little bit difficult to be working full-time in higher ed and then also doing a separate assistantship with something similar.
Yeah, in that program, they don't have a fieldwork component like, say, guidance and counseling, where it's 200 hours. It's more integrated into your classes with projects and that you do in your current roles or with people you work with,
Okay.
you know, on like special projects. So they work that out through your class. They give you great guidance through that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I should mention though that since you do work here, Dean, do you work here also?
Yes, I work here as well in BCLA.
Okay, so on the MA in Higher Education Administration program, it does have a limit to the number of tuition remission applicants they can take in on any given year. So the sooner you apply and complete your application, the better off you are, because we do it on first completed, not first submitted, but first completed to get on that list, so that they can take anywhere from, I don't know what they're taking right now. I think they're taking 2, but it's 1 to 4 over two cohorts. So it depends on if there's people still in it or not. So that's good to know. That's the only program we have a limit on.
I have a question. Do you guys, would you guys want letters of recommendations from professors? I've been out of school for almost 10 years. And so I don't have really any contact with my professors from getting my bachelor's.
No.
So yeah, what would you guys recommend?
We prefer, Adam, you want to take it? We prefer it's from someone you know, someone that knows you. Yeah.
I like to say, you know, there's no specific parameters, but you definitely want it to be individuals who can speak to your propensity to be successful in the program, and not just someone that's just, oh, he's a great person, I totally love him, you know, like why,
Yeah.
a deep, like an understanding of how you're going to be successful in the program. So that can come from a supervisor, a faculty member, a teacher, mentor, just as long as they offer you a competitive recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great questions, everyone. Really good questions. We have we have about 15 more minutes, but I think we're kind of winding down. Any last questions in these last? We'll do like 5 more minutes. See if anyone. Don't be shy. We're real people too. We've been through it too.
I have a question. If I may, the EDD versus the PhD. Is it basically, and I've researched this so many times, but being on the in the fields, is it a personality sort of approach towards education, the EDD versus a PhD preference? Or is it simply PhD is more research based, EDD is more managerial, sort of on the ground, like in the middle of everything, managing, sort of leading?
You nailed it.
Is that okay?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
If you want to be a researcher, if you want to contribute to academic discourse, and that's what you want to do, a PhD. But if you want to be a manager, if you want to be involved in administration on campus, on college campuses, and write policy, different things like that, like you said, boots on the ground, like that. That's sort of the phrase that's used a lot, to be honest. Then an EDD would be something that might work for you.
Well, my background's in history and then library science, so a lot of research and writing is my background. So would a school would probably be more inclined to view me as a PhD candidate, I would say. Is that ever like an admission sort of dilemma?
No,
I don't know.
No,
it's a preference. It would be my preference.
It would be your preference.
Okay.
What matters is what
Thank
you want to do. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, definitely your preference. Usually a PhD will be to lead to a career, generally, unless it's in the sciences, but a career in faculty, being a faculty member at a university, or being a full-time researcher for a grant organization or something. For EDD, you could be a leader in any number of institutions, could be K-12, could be community agencies, could be higher ed, more as, directors, program directors, but the PhD tends to be more, and it's completely your choice of what your career goal is and what you enjoy doing. If you enjoy research, great. If you don't, then maybe not so much.
Got it. Thank you.